Hey there, Jamin here from Uploadcare, and welcome to another video in our series where we'll build a file uploader using JavaScript. In our previous video, we created a drag and drop functionality for the file uploader and also implemented accessibility for screen reading tools. In this video, we're going to talk about an important part of file uploading, which is security when uploading a file. We're going to see various ways we can make our file uploader secure and make sure that it is a bit resistible to attacks. Now, the complete code for this tutorial can be found in the description below. Let's dive into it. So the security measures that will be taken for our file uploader is based off the OWASP CheatSheet. So OWASP is actually a non-profit organization that is responsible for improving the security of softwares, especially web applications worldwide. And so we'll be basing the security measures we'll be taking will be based off the cheat sheet that they have. And the link for it will be attached to the description of this video. And then we'll be taking it one after the other. So back in our project, we have a few changes that I made. So the first thing first is I set up a simple Node.js backend using Express and Malta. And so Malta is more like a file processing middleware for Node.js that you can use to capture file uploads and also like upload a file. The reason why we need a Node.js server is because most of the security measures that you take when building a file uploader has to be done on the server side when the file is being sent to the server. So before now, we've been uploading our files directly to Uploadcare. So if you would like to use your own personal server and you already have an implementation, probably on a Node.js server, this would be a very good way to sort of like understand the security measures you need to take when receiving files or when accepting files. The Node.js server is set up, so there's a port that is running on port 3000, and also we're using Malta for disk. Right now, this is a basic setup, and also it's listening for a file upload on the upload endpoint. So when you upload a file to /upload, it will accept those files. And then we're also serving the the files in our public directory as the front end for it, which is the default HTML file that we've been using before with everything still intact. So we will make some slight adjustments to this to make sure that it works fine, or it is able to receive files from the Node.js end. But aside from that, pretty much everything else will be the same as it has always been. So let's get into it. So the first thing we need to do to adjust this is, since we won't be sending this to Uploadcare's server anymore, we will change this and we'll sort of say this should go to /uploads. So that's the endpoint. So one of the first instructions from this sheet is that we should be able to validate the file that we're receiving, and we should set filters in place to allow specific extensions, of which we're currently doing. We're doing that already. So we have we sort of have that in place if we should go through the front end of our file uploader. So this is what we're doing. We're checking the MIME type. We're checking the MIME type of the file, which is not bad actually, but we need to do more than just check the MIME type. So according to the instruction here, that content type validation is good. So we can check the MIME type for it, but it shouldn't be just that alone. We should also check the extension of the file to know that, oh, this is actually a JPG file and it's not just a random file. So we want to combine both. We want to be able to check for the MIME type of the file and also for the extension of the file as well, to be able to protect the file. So that should be the first thing we want to implement. So what we'll do is, let's head back to our code base, and first let's do this on the front end, should I say the client side. So we'll go back. So just here that we're trying to validate a file to check that, oh, if this file is a valid file, what we'll do is first let's add one more file tab. So we'll say image.webp file. We don't have this already. So since this is a valid file tab, we want to rename the function. Instead of just checking for file type, we want to say it's valid file. So we want to say it's valid file. and then it receives a file. We want to check for the file type. So let's create a function. Let's create a variable, sorry. Let's create a variable, and we're going to call this const is valid file type. What we're going to do is just pass the whole is allowed file, where we're checking for if the file is valid. So this is for valid file type. That's what we're doing. And then we also want to check the extension of the file to know if it's valid. So we want to say file name, create a variable called file name, and we're going to just get the file.name to lowercase. After converting that to lowercase, the next thing we need to do is to sort of create a list of allowed file extensions that we want. So we're going to say allowed extensions should be a list of the extensions that we want. So we want the extension for JPG, PNG, WebP, GIF. Those are the kind of files that we want to accept. And then we can now create another variable. So for this, we want to filter the file that the extension of the file that we'll be receiving with the array of allowed extension that we have. So which is going to look like something like allowed extensions.sum. And so this is more like a method. So we want to get the extension. So the ext is the variable, which is the extension. We want to check if any of the extension that we have in our array is valid with the file extension that we're receiving. So we want to check that. So we want to say the file name and ends with bracket the extension of the file. So if this is valid, we will return true or false. So instead of just returning for file type now, we can now say is valid file type, and has valid extension. So it's going to check both and see if it's working, if they are both valid before returning true or false. So we will update this somewhere in our code. So just before we're submitting the file, before we're handling the file upload, we're using the is valid file type. So we change this instead. We're going to say it's valid file. So now so right now what happened is we're not just checking for the file type anymore, we're also checking for the extension to know if it's actually that file. So combining both is actually a good thing. So we also need to do the same thing for the backend as well. So we also need to check the MIME type and also the file extension if it's valid. So for when using Mortar, we have we have this file filter, which is more like a function where we get the request. Since it's a middleware, we're grabbing the file before it gets to our endpoint to perform that action. So we're getting the file, and then we perform specific action before we process the request. So I added a filter here that basically just filters the same thing we were doing on the front end, just to make sure that it is working very fine. So this is the first step, and we will move on from this step to the next step. So another security rule that we should do is also to set upload and download limits. So since we are only uploading a file, we want to be able to set a upload limit, which we're currently doing. So if we should head back to the front end of our file, we can see that we have the max size, which is 2 megabytes. That if a user tries to upload a file larger than 2 megabytes, it's going to throw an error, but we don't have this currently on the back end. So let's also set this on the back end, and it's going to be very simple to do. So we'll say limit. We'll provide this as this is a parameter that the motor configuration also expects. So we'll say limit should be an object, and so we want to say the file size. File size should be 2 megabytes. This shouldn't be inside of the file filter. So let's take it out and also put it here. Yeah, so this is it. This makes sense now. So yeah, it's going to be like the file size is a number. So when we save this, whenever a user tries to upload a file and it goes to, they are able to bypass the front end. When it gets to the server is going to reject it as well because it exceeds the file limit. We'll save this and let's move on to the next rule. So the next rule is that your file storage location should be different from where your server is hosted. So ideally, whenever you are hosting files or you are expecting files to be hosted on your server, it should be a different server from where your backend code is configured. The reason for this is when someone is able to upload a malicious file to your server, that should not affect your backend service or take it down. So the instruction here is that we should store files in a different host, and if we are not able to store files in a different host, we should store file outside of the web root folder. So if we should go back to our configuration of the backend right now, we can see that we do not even have like a storage or where we're storing the file. So what we want to do is we want to provide that configuration here, and that is called like destination. So it expects a destination, and we're going to just call this should upload all the files to an upload directory. So let's say /upload. So this way we'll be able to upload files into the upload directory, and it won't be where our index.js file is located. So it's not in the main directory where our server is located, but instead it is in a different directory. So we'll do this and save, and now whenever someone wants to upload a file, we'll receive that file in the uploads directory. Now, another measure we need to take as well is also file name safety. So in order to prevent certain attacks, such as SS attack and also CSRF attacks, we want to make sure that our file names are safe when they are uploaded. So that literally means one of the recommendations on how to fix that is to use a tool such as a UUID to sort of like generate different unique IDs or random string IDs for file names that we can use. Remember the last time when we were using the Uploadcare file API, what happened is that whenever we upload a file, we then receive a file with a UUID string as the URL of our file, which is very random instead of just using the file name. So we want to also implement this for our backend as well. We'll be using the UUID library. So I already have that installed, and I'm going to import it on the backend side so we can actually use that. So we're going to say import v4 as UUID v4 version 4 from UUID. Yeah, so that works. So during the multi-disk storage configuration, we also want to instead of just saving the file the way it is, we also want to provide a new file name for it. So just after the destination and limit, we want to sort of like add a new thing and say file name. The way we want to do this is first we want to get the request coming from, and so the request, the file itself, and also the callback action. So we'll just call this a CB. So this should be like a function, and here we're going to like do various things or something like that. So here, let's first say const UUID is equal to UUID v4 that we imported. So we're going to say UUID v4 that we imported. We're going to generate a unique ID for that file. And the next thing we want to do is first get the extension of the file and store it in a variable, and then we then string it with the UUID that we're creating to create a new file name. So we're going to say const ext is equal to the path. We're using path.extension name, and this should be like the file.original name. We want to get the original name of the file, and to be on the safe side, let's also make this to lowercase, just to make sure that it's fine. And then what will happen is after getting both ingredients, we want to sort of call the callback function that the user will be expecting. So we want to callback function, and we're going to say null, and then we're going to string the UUID and the extension. So this will give us something like the extension, the new file name will be like generated UUID and also the extension. So we will test all of this later. So let's save this first, and we'll save this. Yeah. So for renaming the file and providing the UUID, another thing we want to do is to make our file uploading more secure, we can also use application level file mapping, which is also what Uploadcare uses as well. So with that, basically, it means that when we want to access a file, we can simply just call an endpoint that looks like something like files. So something like files slash, let's put a space here so we can differentiate it, file slash UUID and forward slash, and the server should be able to tell which file we're trying to access instead of having like the UUID.png or the .png or the extension like that. So that will make our file more secure, as hackers won't be able to tell which of the file we're trying to like, they won't be able to tell beforehand the extension of the file so as to perform any action or anything. So we can do that, but to implement that, we actually need a database. We need a database to store this file and then to be able to map, to store the file. Yes, we're uploading it into a directory, the upload directory, but we need a database to store the file ID and then to be able to map each file when it's requested to that ID. But what can happen is we can do something very simple. Sort of like create like a map, like an array, a temporary array that is able to perform this action without actually saving it into a database. But the only issue is that whenever I refresh our application, we lose sort of like the file ID or the file that was mapped. But let's give it a shot. Let's give it a shot and let's see how that works. This should be in a real world application, this should be a DB. So let's just put that beforehand. So in the real world application, this should be a DB. So we'll say const file mapping. We're going to map it. So we'll say const file mapping. Oh, sorry. We already have this. I think I added this, but we're not using it yet. We're going to say const file mapping is equal to new map. Yeah. And so with this new map, we are going to like, whenever a user uploads the file, we're going to map the URL of the file into what we have on the upload server. Now let's head back to the upload endpoint that is here. And now we have the middleware that from Malta that it grabs the file. When it grabs the file and we're checking that there's actually a file coming from the request, we want to do a few things right now. So first, let's extract the UUID. So we'll say const file UUID should be equal to path.base name. So we want to take out the extension of the file of of the file that is being uploaded. Remember, because since Malta is a middleware, before we're getting to this stage, Malta must have edit the file name, which we've done here. Edit the file name, provide add filter, move the file into the uploads directory and set limits. What we're getting here is an already like processed file. So we want to say the base name. The base name should be the request. What we want to do is we want to strip the extension from the file itself. So file name, so that's the file name, and we want to take out the path.extension name, and so the extension name should be the request of the file. So request. Now this will take out the extension of the file and only provide us with the UUID of the file. So what we want to do is, ideally, we want to save this to our database. So we don't have a database yet, so we are using that file mapping, which is just an array. So we'll say file mapping.set, and this should set sort of like an object. So the key should be the file ID, so the file UUID, and then the information about the file should be something like this. So we want to set the new details for the file. So we'll say file name should be the request.file.filename. Yeah, file name. Also, the original name of the file should be The original name for the file should be the request dot file dot original name dot file dot original name, and then the path for it, the path for the file should be the request dot file dot path, request dot file dot path. So literally almost everything relating to the file itself. The only thing we also want to change, these are more like metadata for the file. So we also want to create the upload time, upload date. So we want to say upload date. It should be new.date since we're using today, since the file was uploaded on that date. So we want to do that. I also want to set the MIME type. So MIME type for the file should be the request.file.mime type, and the size of the file should be the request.file.size. So all of these details will be set on the new file that we're creating. And now that we have this, the next thing we want to do is, when we have this, we want to send a response back to the front end that is requesting to upload this file. So now that we've uploaded the file, we've sort of like created a new file information for the file. All of this will be attached to the new file that was uploaded. And so we want to send back not the old file with not the file name with extension, but just the file UUID. So with this, we want to say sending back to the front end, we'll say response.json. This should be a JSON, and it should be an object, and we're going to say a message. The message should be file uploaded successfully, and then we also want to pass the file itself. The file should be like the file UUID that we have here, and that's it. We can also add like a status message to this. So we can say that status should be like a status code of 200. So the browser knows that, oh, this is good. So with this, we can now upload a file and then receive the UUID. And then we can make sure that we can ensure like our file is secure without exposing the extension of the file and also exposing the original file name itself. So let's test this out in the browser. So let's fix something here. There was S here, so let's remove the S and head back to the page and refresh and try to upload the file and save this. And we're seeing the file was uploaded successfully. And if we should head back to our project itself, let's check the upload directory. You can see that, oh, this was uploaded successfully and the image is here, but our preview is no longer working. So let's see what's the issue. Oh, makes sense. Our file was uploaded successfully and the UUID string is actually working fine, but I can see that somewhere the previous implementation that we have is more like we're using the UUID from Uploadcare along with the file name and all that. So what we want to do now is sort of like change this. We're going to change this, and we're going to say first thing first, let's take out the Uploadcare CDN. So we're going to say localhost HTTP. This should be // localhost port 3000 / the file. So remember, we no longer want to show the file name anymore. We just want to show like the UUID of the file and make sure that our server is able to resolve it, so there won't be any issues. So let's head back. This won't do anything. So since we're not storing it in a database, we can't like retrieve it. So let's try to upload something else again. Amazon Alexa, and let's upload. Okay, so this is showing this. Let's head back somewhere. So I think we're missing something. So ideally we want to, oh right, so we have to create the endpoint for it to be able to sort of like get that what's it called, to get the ID so to serve the file. So let's implement that real quick. And so I already have this written somewhere, so I'll just copy this, and so it won't take much time. So what is happening is quite simple. We are sort of like getting the files slash ID. So using the ID from the request, we are sort of checking our file map to look for the file. And if we can't find it, we return a 404 error. But if we can, we'll set the header for the file for the request, and also we'll resolve the actual file. So let's head back to our HTML code, and we change this to not just data files. So we'll say files slash this, and let's try to upload again, and let's refresh this. We lost everything, and upload, and exactly, so we have this in not showing over here as the file that was uploaded. So whenever somebody tries to upload a new file, this is how our file will be uploaded. And if we should open this image in a new tab, we can see that this is resolving localhost file slash the UUID. Have a look that there's no extension. This is clean. The extension is coming from the way the file is being resolved. The file is being resolved from our server, where it checks for the ID of the file, and then it uses that to go look for the actual file itself and then sends it over for us. So these are some of the security measures that we can take. And also one other security measure that was also mentioned is that we should be able to set signature validation, which we won't, due to the time, we won't be able to go through that in this tutorial. And also we should be able to scan the content of our file to make sure that nothing malicious is being sent, and you can do that using an antivirus like Clamp AV and things like that. So those are some of the security measures that we can also take to make this more robust, but I won't go through that yet. So let's now talk about a much more better way to handle all of this. Let's do that. If you rather not build your own file uploading server from scratch, Uploadcare provides you with all the security measures you need to make sure that your files are secure and also safe. This is a sample project I have on my Uploadcare dashboard. And if I should head to the settings tab over here, you can see that all the security measures that we've considered have already been implemented on Uploadcare, and everything you need is there, so you don't have to worry about security, and also if a malicious user will be able to manipulate your files or anything like that. So you can set the maximum file size for your project, you can filter by bin type, you can set up malware protection, you can also set up image moderation, and then there's also the option to reject invalid SVG so as to prevent potential malicious code. And also you can set up sign uploads to decide who can upload files in your project, and also who can access the files in your project. So all of this comes by default with Uploadcare, such that you do not have to worry about the security of your files, and also if they are safe to deliver and things like that. So these are some of the features of Uploadcare. You can check out more on uploadcare.com. Without any further ado, this is all we'll take for today. In this video, we made our file uploader secure by implementing file limit and also checking for the file type. We also implemented randomization of our file name by renaming them to UUID, and also setting up all of this in the backend of a Node.js server. And then we also implemented application level mapping, where we map the file to a specific URL that we can make sure that, we are not exposing the extension of our file. All of these are some of the security measures that, when put in place, can help to make your file uploading secure and more safe. So we also saw how Uploadcare can help you handle all of this out of the box without you having to do anything at all. That's a wrap for this video, and I hope you enjoy it, and I look forward to making something else based on this series or something different. But for now, happy coding, and do have a nice day. Bye.